My friend.
Hello? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Covey? Okay. Hopefully people can hear me now because I see that the audio input is coming through. Let me know if you can hear what I'm saying now. Okay, cool. Okay, welcome everybody to the 1,000 subscriber live stream. Thank you guys so much for your continued support and whatnot. It's been a long road. Started this podcast on March 20th, 2022. For people that might not know, I started this podcast after I got clean off hard drugs, and and I wanted to get back to the community. And I found this community, and I realized that there was people doing this work, but they were kind of like in their own little niche. Like they would do their school or like schools like theirs, but they wouldn't really talk about the schools that were different, like the religious schools, because there's all sorts of schools that kids get sent to. I mean, there's religious programs, wilderness programs. There's foster care placements that probably aren't the best, that a lot of abuse happens in. There's programs like we went to, the residential programs, and then of course where it all started. But I wanted to give back to the community, and so I've been doing it over I think like about 3 years now, maybe, or a little over. I'm not exactly sure, but I started on March 20th, 2022, and we just reached 1,000 subscribers. And so thank you for everybody that has shared the videos, liked the videos, left comments, anything to interact with the videos. This is a long time coming. Next goal is 2,000. I think we can do it. So thank you guys for that. I wanted to give some numbers so people know kind of how much work we've been able to do, or how much work I've been able to do with the podcast, and we've been able to do as a community. I had some numbers to point out. I think it was like something 71,000 views so far and counting, and then like 14,000 hours of view time. So that's kind of crazy to me. That seems like a lot of hours of view time. So thank you all for that. It really means a lot. And I wanted to give a quick update. My father did recently pass, unfortunately. He was fighting with Alzheimer's for a long time, and I don't really want to talk about it too much, but I just wanted to give you guys an update. He's no longer with us, so um, he has broken through the other side, and in the next dimension, or whatever it is after this. So he's no longer with us. I'm still dealing with processing that. But I did say I was gonna go live for an 1,000 subscribers special, and so here we are. I wanted to talk about some of the things I've noticed and just experienced having a platform like this. The first thing I kind of want to touch on is just how often people try and get me to pick a side, or like try and put me in a box in certain scenarios. Just a lot of people seem to think that me having a platform means that I need to take a side on things. I do have opinions on things, but the point of this platform is to maintain neutrality, but at the same time raise awareness. And the reason neutrality is important, and I think this is an important thing to talk about, is when you're hosting a platform to raise awareness, you want the opportunity to talk to anybody, right? So at least I do, because I want to see all sides of things. And I think it's important for the public to see all sides of things. For example, when I've had some of the staff members I've had on, there will either be ones that come on here and they feel bad for what they did, and they want to make it right. And there's also ones that come on here to clear their conscience. I kind of feel like. And that's perfectly, that's fine. If you're going to come on here to clear your content, that's perfectly fine. You're still going to tell people, what your experience was there. And, I commend you for even coming on a podcast platform in the first place, like at all. Like, that's good. But essentially the neutrality, like, I want to talk to everybody that I can, and I want to get as much information as I can. And the only way to do that is to maintain neutrality and to, kind of just, see where people are coming from and let them tell their own story and let the viewer make up their own mind on things. It's not my job to, say this is wrong or right. Of course, like on certain issues, I say it's wrong and right, but when it comes to other people's business, I try and not get involved, and I feel like that has been helpful, to stay out of that. I also wanted to say that I do have a Survivor panel will be releasing soon. I just finished updating that. And it was a Survivor panel to the California Children's like Therapist Association for like youth and stuff like that. So it was alternatives to residential treatment programs. And so we were kind of brainstorming about like ideas besides sending your kid away, because I feel like that's a very important topic to talk about, because like, including my parents, like, my mom in particular was like, well, what did you expect us to do with you, when obviously never send your child away, but at the same time, what is there besides that when the parent feels like they have no other option and they feel like you're gonna die if you go another like couple months? Like, what other option besides sending the kid out of the home are there? I think that's important to talk about, because we can't, it's one part of the problem and solution to talk about like that these places are bad and whatnot, and we need to get rid of them, but we also need something in place of that, like not necessarily in place of it, but another option for the parents to pursue besides sending your kid outside of the home, if that makes sense. So I feel like that's an important topic. We touched on that in the panel. I think it was like 6 or 7 of us, maybe 8, gave a little speech and a little spiel about like where we went and like what work we did. I of course went on there because I wanted to, I feel like I've heard a lot, and I've interviewed a lot of people, so I kind of have like a unique standpoint on things. So I felt like it was important for me to get on there and be like, I do activism, and I've been doing activism for years now, very involved in the community and entrenched in the community. So I came on there, shared my story. Wendy Ann came on there, shared her story. There was Jen there. There's a couple other people that were there. Thank you all for that. But that will be releasing soon. It took a little while because, of course, I'm dealing with stuff with my dad, and I'm not. For anybody that might be curious, I did make a post about this, but I'm not okay, and I'm not recovered from that. It's going to be a long process for that. My dad is my best friend and my father, so it's going to take a long time to rebound from that. But I promise you that I do remain committed to putting out an episode every week. Unless, of course, I don't have any interviews to put out, but I have a pretty good chest of interviews to come out for the near future. And I haven't stopped in over 3 years, putting out this content every week. And I feel like it's important to be consistent and put out this content consistently because this is a huge problem and not enough people are touching on it. And I feel like maybe, being consistent with it and showing week after week after week after week, there's somebody new coming on, sharing their story, sharing what happened to them, sharing why this is a bad idea to send your child out of the home, and all of these things. And also just like ways people have recovered from this trauma. Like it's extremely interesting to me how, like, what differentiates like the person, like what did the person do differently to be successful in life versus get out of the program and life go downhill completely, like in my situation, like instantly going into hard drugs. Like what makes that difference? Like and if we can find out what makes that difference, maybe less people will go down the path that I went down, which is complete self-destruction and just complete blaming myself for everything, and just not like complete victim, but just like I definitely had my reasons for using hard drugs. I'll just say that. And so it's very interesting to me just how some people are able to survive and thrive after these places and kind of put it out into the back of their mind and just like either not deal with it at all or just like compartmentalize it in such a way where they can function in society regularly and be okay being around large crowds and being in social settings in general. And then how there's a lot of more people that I've experienced that their life falls apart after they get out of these places. They don't know how to be an adult. These places didn't teach us how to be adults. They taught us how to tear each other apart and insist that you're right about everything, and just like just the gang mentality is very real in the survivor community even now. Like just we were taught to gang up on people and beat them up, like whether it be mentally or physically. And I feel like a lot of that permeated for a lot of us, whether we're aware of it or not, into the survivor community, and it has become very divisive. Another reason I feel like neutrality is important. I want to hear all sides of things, and I'm not just going to throw somebody under a bus because of something I've heard from even a couple people, like just because people's experience can be different. So that's another thing that I've noticed since I started the podcast. Let's see. I didn't really have like a list of things to talk about here, so I'm kind of just freeballing this. But I wanted to thank you guys for everything you have done. I said I would go live for an 1,000 subscriber special, give you guys an update. I'm putting out that panel soon. I'll be putting out interviews every week. I plan to do more addiction interviews. I want to do maybe an idea I had this morning was I want to do some more research into like the foster care system specifically in Washington. Like for example, I was thinking maybe I could do a live stream or a video or a stream. Let me know if anybody's interested. But just like going over the requirements to become a foster parent in the state I'm in, Washington, and kind of while I'm going over it, be like, okay, well, what about this? Like, what are they even considering this? Like, when things get hard for the family, what do they do for punishment? Like, what is deemed acceptable for punishment? I don't feel like any physical should be used for punishment. We need positive reinforcement and stuff like that. Like, what ways are they training these foster parents? What requirements does it take to become a foster parent? And really just like touch on like what I would include in training a foster parent. Not that I feel like you could ever fully be ready to be a parent, but I feel like there's better ways to educate potential parents than what they're doing in a lot of states. Or else, and the evidence shows this, that there's so much abuse that happens in the foster care system, and then a lot of these kids get sent to the programs and have nobody to vouch for them. And, those are the people that, my heart aches for, a lot. My heart aches for all the survivors, but especially ones that have nobody to vouch for them, that have no hope. They don't feel like they can go into to anybody to talk to them about anything, even if they felt like they had somebody. So I feel like that's a big issue. So maybe I'm gonna do a stream about that. Maybe a videos on reading some of my letters from the boarding school I went to, Spring Creek Lodge. But the main focus is always gonna remain the troubled teen industry and raising awareness, and either getting these places shut down completely, which is more where I am on the topic, or getting them fully regulated. But my gripe about that is, when have we seen like a place that is fully regulated? Like they're still bound to do some bad stuff. Like they can still get away with stuff. I just don't trust that enough personally. People can be bought off. People can be, with enough money, you can buy people off. If they don't have integrity, in my opinion. My integrity's not for sale, but I don't feel like regulation is enough. There's sick people in this world that get off on abusing children, and it's just not a system that I feel comfortable with. But it would be it might be progress where, maybe especially if there was a number that kids could call if they felt like they were being abused in these places, that goes to somebody that can be trusted, that has been vetted, that, hey, I'm being abused in this place, I need help, and have somebody to actually get them out of that program, or move them to another one, heaven forbid, but just get them out of that situation. I'm not for moving them to another place, but if it's going to be less abusive, then I'm definitely for that option. But there needs to be a phone for children to call at the very least. And there needs to be oversight, because these people need to be held accountable for their actions. When you're not held accountable for your actions, in my opinion, it breeds a bunch of bad shit. Like, people think they can get away with anything, and then they do attempt anything and everything. And they do get away with it because people don't make a huge issue out of it. Or they do, and then but it's too late after the fact. So the statute of limitations or whatever it is, But that's another very important topic I wanted to touch on. And yeah, I didn't really have much to say. I kind of wanted to be here. If anybody has any questions about the podcast, any suggestions about how I could improve the podcast, or just like ideas, I'm not necessarily going to change the way I do things, but I am definitely open to feedback from people and stuff like that. So if anybody has any questions in the chat, go ahead and drop them, and I will get to them. Hold on one second. I have to make this a little bit wider. So sad that these places are still in business. I think it counted around 10 in the east side of my county. Yeah, they're all over the place. They're not just in this country either. This is a huge issue worldwide. And I also think people just don't realize that either, just how big of an issue this is all over the world. Just because it couldn't happen, you think it couldn't happen in the United States, well then what about the other countries where children, have a lot less rights? Women have a lot less rights, So it's unbelievable. Covey says, I like your neutrality in your interviews. Everyone has different experiences in the programs. Yeah, they definitely do. I feel like it's important for everybody to have a voice and everybody to be able to share their story regardless of what their experience was. Even if it was the best thing that ever happened to you, come on the platform, share that, and tell me why you think it was the best experience of your life. You're probably not going to ever convince me that you're not under mind control still, or brainwashed to an extent to believe that. Whether that involves pushing this down to an extent where you just don't deal with it in your normal day-to-day life, or whether you you actually think it didn't affect you, I still feel like your story is relevant. You know, you still deserve to be heard. I'm in southern Utah. Cross Creek was right behind my house. That's insane. That's insane. Did you? I assume you went to a program. Did you go to a program too? And Petite Cherub says, "Thank you. You're amazing. Congratulations. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I've been working at this for a long time. Numbers and all that isn't why I do. Well, actually, no. I let me correct myself. I do this for as much awareness as I can spread. So yes, numbers are important. They definitely are important. But just incentives like cash and stuff. Like if you want to donate, that's fine. But I don't expect that from any of my viewers. It's not why I do this. It's not. As one person tried to say, you're just doing this for attention. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But anyways, it's just, I do this because I care. And I think anybody that actually watches my videos can see that. No, it makes me sick to find out what was going on so close to me. Yeah, it really is. It's despicable. It's disgusting. The fact that it's still going on is unbelievable. But I'm very glad to see that somebody that didn't go through a program is actually watching my channel. That's good. That's very good. I want more people like that to be watching the channel because it's amazing. I love having survivors. I want all the survivors that I can on my platform, watching my videos because I think it is helpful for a lot of people to see that they're not alone. And I feel like that's very important. But I also feel like it's very important for people that have maybe never even heard of these places, knew they existed, to come in and watch an episode and realize that holy shit, this is really a huge issue, and the news doesn't cover it. I'm sure there's like a couple articles when things get really bad, like when a kid dies, it might be on the news for like a day, but they're not gonna harp on that point like they should. I've been hyper fixated on the Candace Newmaker case. Heartbreaking. I'm not sure if I heard about that. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up after this. But yeah, it's truly heartbreaking what everybody goes through in these places. They keep getting closed and reopening under different names. I've been told lots of people. I've told lots of people we need to stop them. Easier said than done. Yeah, it really is. I mean, a lot of people are truly oblivious to, they just feel like it would never happen here. Is the thing that I've heard the most from people that don't know these places exist and find out they do, is that would never happen here in the United States. We have protections and stuff like that. We care about people's rights, and it's like, we might care about. I don't even know if I want to say that at the state of this world. I don't even think they care about anybody's rights, to be honest. But right now, especially not children, especially not somebody they deem incompetent of making their own decisions, which is completely ridiculous. People got their blinders on, man. And there's some people you can show all the evidence that you want to them, they're still going to believe that this could never happen here, and they'll just be in denial. There's a lot of parents that sent their kids to places like this that are in complete denial. That they won't even accept the fact that they were wrong, that any damage happened to their child while they were there. It's unreal. It really is. It's really sad. And oh yeah, I intend on I made a post about maybe doing a reaction to the Sound of Freedom, but there was a lot of, not that I really would care about what other people think, but I did a little bit of research as well, and it looks like there might have been some shady stuff going on between, like, with the people that involved in that movie, so won't be covering that, but I do want to possibly create a documentary. I know there have been a few, but I don't feel like there's enough to, really put a spotlight again on the fact that child trafficking and trafficking in general is one of the biggest industries, on the planet. And the United States is one of the #1 consumers of it, apparently. So I feel like that's a huge issue. That ties right in with we were trafficked. Regardless of how you want to put it, whether you were transported to these places or brought by your parents, you were still transported across state lines, which is by definition trafficking. So it ties in with what we went through. It ties into the rights of children. There needs to be more people talking about this. My heart just aches so much for all the children in the world going through all of this trafficking and just slavery and the worst kind of things you can imagine. And then, being put in a place like the place we went, where it's legal. You can just do whatever you want to the kid here, not necessarily legal, but they treat it like it's legal. Like, we can get away with anything. We can beat you and nobody's ever gonna do anything to us, I have no personal experience in the program, but I've been abused by my mom. CPS failed me. Yep, very common trend that I have heard is that CPS and foster care, that whole system, not a good system. Not a good system, in my opinion. I'm sorry that you dealt with abuse by your mom. And I'm sorry that CPS failed you. We need to do better as a country. We need to do better as a planet to be there for the children and be there for people that truly have nobody to vouch for them. We really do. I know I've been kind of repeating that, but it's just, it needs to be heard. It really needs to be heard. It can't be said enough. There's not enough being done about it. But yeah, so I intend on, doing at least a piece on child trafficking in the United States and trafficking in general, or make a documentary about it. So that's also on my list of things to do. And I've thought about maybe, I don't know if it'll be on this channel. Your dad has custody now of you. Well, I hope that your dad treated you better and treats you better. And I hope that you're doing better in life now. But I might do, I do have a gaming channel that I do some gaming, because I also think that it's an important thing to demonstrate things that have worked for me to help me maybe get my mind off things if I get too focused on stuff like that. I do have a couple, I think at least a video coming out where we do breathing exercises, and she kind of walks me through like breathing exercises to calm down. So I'm always open to stuff like that and suggestions like that, and maybe do some gaming streams. I don't know if they'll be on here or where they'll be, but just stuff like that helps me deal with life in general. Music, video games is a huge one for me. I kind of just need to put on the whole the whole helmet with goggles and all the big deal, and kind of just completely remove myself from reality and just be somewhere else for a while. Whether people call that avoidance or not, it works for me sometimes. So I think the big reason my mom is the way she is due to the foster system. She was in there till 12 and adopted out. Yep. A lot of abuse, even if it's not, directly abuse that's happening to them within these places. The process of being separated from your real parents, or never knowing your real parents, can be trauma in itself. Just the separation from them, and just, it's just a bad. There's never, there needs to be better options for children that don't have parents, or the parents can't take care of them. They just can't be put in a facility, full of people and have us expect them not, there to be abuse. I don't trust it. There's a lot of trauma that comes out of that. And then sometimes, it perpetuates to the children, and it's really sad situation. Definitely needs to be touched on. It's another topic I don't think people talk about enough, is the foster care system and CPS and all of that, and how CPS is not all of it weaponized, but a lot of it, I've done research where, a lot of these CPS agents are actually, they get paid more the more kids they, it's almost like they're incentivized to remove children from the home. It just seems like, incentivized to find a reason to remove the child from the home. Which, I mean, if they're being abused, that's fine. But if the parent actually cares about the kid, and they just they forgot to take the trash out one week or something, and you didn't take the trash out, okay, you lose your kids. Not saying that that's for sure something they do, but just something that may be deemed like smaller, you know, like, oh, you don't care about your children. Like, I always feel like unless there's abuse happening, I always feel like it's the best to keep the child with their original family, because there's this soul connection to that. There is a bond that, regardless of if you feel it or not, it's there, ancestrally. So I feel like it's always best to keep the child in the home, unless there's abuse. So that's my opinion on that. Have you heard of the Take Care of Maya case? Not sure if I have. I'll look that one up after this. Maybe I'll cover some of these cases on the podcast, and like do like a live reaction of what I think of the situation. Since I haven't heard about them, you know, I've heard about a lot of stuff, so maybe I should do an episode on that too. But I'll definitely look into it. That's for sure. But yeah, I didn't really have much else to say. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being part of the podcast experience. Thank you for sharing the video. Please continue to do that. You know, like Candace in here, you know, like she wasn't part of the program, but I don't know, Candace, how you heard about my podcast, but I'm glad you're here. And on Maya, isn't there? Is there a Netflix doc? Do you know, Covey, if there's a Netflix doc? Because if so, I couldn't do a reaction to it. Well, I could do a reaction. I just couldn't do a live reaction watching it. If it was paperwork, I could read it. But yeah, it's important to share the videos and stuff like that to get people like Candace in here that didn't go through a program, and learning about it now really, really means a lot. Okay, I think I've heard of it then, Covey. So what I think I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna watch the Netflix documentary, and then see if I can maybe find some paperwork for it too as well, and then maybe I'll do a video on a reaction of reading, you know, like the paperwork for the case, and give my thoughts on it. There's also a podcast that I was watching a while ago called the Medical Kidnap Podcast, and it was talking about how CPS and the foster care system like removes children from homes, and then abuse happens, and it was stuff similar to what you're talking about. Very sad stuff, you know. We're talking like, you know, newborns and stuff like that, and children being very, very young children being being, you know, trafficked around and abused. I'm trying to spread the word to not re-elect the mayor who named the rec center after Bob Litchfield. That's awesome. That's awesome that you're doing that. If there's any way I can help spread the word on it, let me know, you know. If there's a petition or something, I'll sign it. I'm not sure if you have Facebook or not, but if you send an email to straightoutofbs@gmail.com, I will be sure to get back to you, and you know, any way I can help, let me know. I'm all for, you know, I don't want people that were abusive being memorialized in any sort of way, because they're fucking abusive, dude. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, there shouldn't be a fucking rec center named after somebody that abused children. Simple as that. Like, I just don't. I'm not for that. I'm not with that. And yeah, I think I'm gonna do a piece on the medical kidnapping thing. So that's a good idea too. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. I don't really know what else to say, and I don't really want to harp on. So I think I'm gonna end the live stream here. I just wanted to pop on, say that I'm okay, give you some updates. Thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Let's move towards 2,000. Share the videos, like the videos, just interact with the videos in any way. It really helps the platform. If you are inclined, he donated the building, so she named it after him. So gross. I wish there was a list of victims of the programs, you know? Yeah, there is a list of deaths that have been as like suicides and deaths as a result of being in boarding schools like the one I went to. I watch every video. Keep it up. I intend to until people don't want to be interviewed anymore, but I don't really see an end in sight. I kind of reach out to people if I running low. So if you guys know anybody that wants to be interviewed or anything, send them my way. If you're inclined to donate any cash to the cause, I have a Patreon, I have a Cash App. All of them are linked in the description. Like I said, and I'll reiterate, it's not the reason I do this, but any donations do go towards funding. I do pay for I did have a subscriber and a supporter pay for a year of the Zoom app, so I can continue to record the videos without having to do like hour segments and then stop and then re-record, and hour segments, stop, re-record. But after the year, I'm gonna have to start paying for that stuff myself. So any donations help to keep the podcast running and help to keep me doing what I'm doing. Not that I'll stop what I'm doing if I ran out of donations or anything, but it really does help to pay, because I do pay out of pocket for anything that I can't afford. So, and I'm on disability, so it is a little bit difficult, but it's not the reason I do this. Just know that it's in the description. Could you make a post with the link? Kobe, what link are you talking about? What link did you want me to post? I have no problem posting a link. I just need to know what it's for. Wait a couple more seconds for response from Kobe. Of the deaths. Oh, yeah, the suicide list. Yeah, I'll have to find where that's at. And then, do you have... Send me an email to straightoutofbs@gmail.com so I have your email. And then when I find the link, I will send it to you via email. Does that work for you, Kobe? That's probably the easiest way to do it, unless you have Facebook. Then I can send it to you on Facebook, because I think it's in one of the Facebook groups. Okay, I'll do that then, Kobe. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Candace, for being here. Thank you, Petite Cherub. Anybody else that was here, thank you so much. I also plan to, probably do some more live streams. I'm just not sure exactly what to do on the live streams, but maybe just to pop in and give an update and stuff like that and give my thoughts on things. So I will catch you in the next one. Thank you all for being here so much.